So hi dear students, in today's lecture we are going to cover the history of Tughlaq dynasty. So what was this Tughlaq dynasty? To give you a small introduction, so this was one of the dynasties that belongs to the Delhi Sultanate time period of medieval Indian history. So the center, or you can say the epicenter of this dynasty, or the capital of this dynasty was the capital of Delhi Sultanate, which was Delhi. So now let's have a look in great detail. What was this dynasty? How was it established? And what all political events took place when this dynasty was ruling from their seat of power, that is Delhi. So let's begin. So now let us understand what was this Tughlaq dynasty, how did it come to power. So as you already know that Delhi Sultanate is the time period between 1206 to 1526 AD, and this was the time period when Delhi was being ruled by a kingdom established by invaders who had actually come from Turkish, or these invaders who were of Turkish origins. So in 1206 AD, Qutbuddin Aibak was the first one to establish his capital, and from there on we can say that the time period of Delhi Sultanate begins. So it began in 1206 AD and it lasted for 320 years. It was an Islamic kingdom. So in these 320 years, which we refer to as Delhi Sultanate, so 5 different dynasties came to power on the throne of Delhi. So one after the other, 5 dynasties, or you can say 5 families, got the opportunity to rule from Delhi. So Tughlaq dynasty was the third of the 5 families or 5 dynasties that have ruled during the Delhi Sultanate time period. So first dynasty was the slave dynasty, which was established by Qutbuddin Aibak in 1206 AD. So you remember who Qutbuddin Aibak is? Qutbuddin Aibak was a slave of Muhammad Ghori. So these two people, Muhammad Ghori and Qutbuddin Aibak, they used to come to India again and again. So in over a time period of 30 years, they managed to capture a large amount of land in Punjab, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and that is how Delhi Sultanate came into existence. So these 320 years, over these 320 years, 5 different dynasties had come to power. So last ruler of slave dynasty, as you already know, was murdered by Jalaluddin Khilji in 1290, bringing an end to the slave dynasty. So we are talking about the first dynasty. That is, how did the first dynasty come to an end? So it was brought to an end by its own military general, whose name was Jalaluddin Khilji. So this happened in 1290 AD, and that way slave dynasty ended. That means the first dynasty ended and the second dynasty came to power. So which was the second dynasty of Delhi Sultanate? If a question is asked to you that which was the second dynasty, so it would be Khilji dynasty. So one by one dynasty used to be overthrown and the other dynasty used to take over. So similarly, Khilji dynasty also got overthrown. So Khilji dynasty saw the reign of some of the most capable rulers of Delhi Sultanate like Alauddin Khilji. But ultimately Khilji dynasty was also brought to an end. So Khilji dynasty was brought to an end in 1320 AD by a military general known as Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. So you see, one dynasty goes, the other comes. So now Khilji dynasty is overthrown by a military general known as Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. Now what will Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq do? He will capture the throne. So that is what he did. He was a military commander who murdered Khusro Khan, thereby ending the Khilji dynasty. So you can say the last ruler of Khilji dynasty was Khusro Khan. And how did Khilji dynasty end? So it was brought to an end in 1320 AD. So these are crucial question. So you have to, at least you have to remember that at what date a particular dynasty began and who established the dynasty. So these questions are of utmost importance. Who established first dynasty, who established second dynasty, the founder and the date of foundation. You have to always remember. You can't avoid that. So in 1320, Khilji dynasty ends and the third dynasty, that is the Tughlaq dynasty, begins. So who brought the Tughlaq dynasty into existence, or you can say who established Tughlaq dynasty? So answer would be Ghayasuddin Tughlaq. And out of the 5 dynasties, what was the number of Tughlaq dynasty? In chronological order, Tughlaq dynasty was the third out of the 5 dynasties of Delhi Sultanate. So you have to keep these things in mind. Also, you have to keep in mind that out of all the 5 dynasties, as I already told you that one by one 5 dynasties have ruled over Delhi Sultanate. So out of all the 5 dynasties, it is Tughlaq dynasty that has ruled for the longest duration. And this dynasty lasted for 96 years. Please remember this. Out of all the 5 dynasties, this question has been asked many times. Which dynasty has ruled for maximum amount of time? So answer would be Tughlaq dynasty. And all these people, that means Delhi Sultanate people, they were of Turkish origin. Please remember this as well. Now, as I already told you that this dynasty was founded by Ghayasuddin Tughlaq. So now let's have a look at his life. Let's have a look at his biography. So before becoming the emperor, Ghayasuddin Tughlaq was known as Ghazi Malik. So he was a military general under the last 2 rulers of Khilji dynasty. So as a, you can say, he started his military career under Khilji dynasty. So he was a military general who used to work under the last 2 rulers of Khilji dynasty. He usurped the throne, that means he captured the throne by killing the last king of Khilji dynasty, whose name was Khusro Khan. So first person to establish the dynasty and the last. So these are some important aspects from which questions are asked frequently. Who established a particular dynasty and who was the last ruler of a particular dynasty. So you have to always keep these informations in mind. So he killed his own king because he used to work as a military commander under Khilji rulers. So he killed his own king in 1320 AD. So Tughlaq dynasty is said to begin that very year, that is in 1320 AD, and lasted for 96 years and came to an end in 1414 AD or 1416. So there is a doubt among historians because the later rulers of Tughlaq dynasty, not much record is found. So you have to remember the date when it began, because the date when it ended is not very clear. So this guy, Ghayasuddin Tughlaq, after becoming the emperor, or you can say after starting the Tughlaq dynasty, he established the city of Tughlaqabad. So this city is today located within Delhi. You can say within the modern day state of Delhi. So this was his capital. So his capital was not Delhi. His capital was not Agra. In terms of option, you will be given Tughlaqabad. So you have to remember Ghayasuddin Tughlaq. So he named this city after himself. His name was Tughlaq. So he named the city as Tughlaqabad. So it is easy for you to remember. Now this guy Ghayasuddin Tughlaq is credited with defeating Mongols many times whenever they tried to enter India through Punjab region. So these Mongols, so they used to attempt again and again. They were very desperate to enter into India. So there is a question that has been asked many number of times, that which ruler of Delhi Sultanate fought Mongols the most number of times, or you can say which ruler of Delhi Sultanate is credited with defending India against Mongols? The answer is Alauddin Khilji. So these all trouble began at the time of Alauddin Khilji itself. That means when Khilji dynasty was ruling, and the condition deteriorated when Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq came to power. So still the Mongols were trying to attack India. So they have not given up. So Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq successfully defended against Mongols. After the death of Alauddin Khilji, the kingdom of Warangal had stopped paying tributes to Delhi Sultanate and had declared its independence. So Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq sent his son Jauna Khan to subjugate the Kakatiya ruler Pratap Rudra of Warangal. So you have to remember that there is a kingdom in South India, kingdom of Warangal, which was subjugated or which was captured by Alauddin Khilji, and after surrendering, the ruler of Warangal had promised that he will keep on paying annual taxes to the rulers of Delhi Sultanate. But now that Khilji dynasty was over and Tughlaq dynasty was ruling, so the rulers of Warangal, they refused to pay taxes. They said that we had an agreement with Alauddin Khilji, not with Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. So why should we pay taxes? So Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq got very angry and he sends his son. So please remember this name. His son's name was Jauna Khan. So he sent him to Warangal. So which dynasty was ruling in Warangal? So it was Kakatiya dynasty. The ruler's name was Pratap Rudra. So his son Jauna Khan defeats this ruler, Kakatiya ruler Pratap Rudra. So Kakatiya ruler Pratap Rudra was ruler of Warangal. And why was this battle taking place? Because they have refused to pay taxes. So at first Jauna Khan could not succeed. In his first attempt he could not succeed, and King Ghiyasuddin sent a letter expressing his displeasure about his son's failure. So he immediately wrote to his son that you can't even win a small battle against a small kingdom. So his son was very angry that how can my father insult me openly by writing a letter. So but after repeated attempts, so Ulugh Khan or Jauna Khan, so these are the names of the same person. And who is this person? He is the son of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. So finally he defeated the ruler of Warangal and brought it under the control of Delhi Sultanate. So in 1325 AD, Ghiyasuddin went to Bengal to crush a rebellion and did so with great ease. So as soon as he came to power, Ghiyasuddin started facing many troubles. One was from Warangal. So his son solved that. The next problem that he faced was a rebellion in Bengal. So this time he himself went to Bengal, because Bengal was an important province. So he could not take that lightly. So the ruler himself went. And his son Jauna Khan started conspiring against his father, because he did not like his father's behavior, because his father had once written an open letter saying that you can't win even a small battle. So he was looking to dethrone his father. So his son Jauna Khan started conspiring. He made preparations to honor his father when he returned as a victor from Bengal. So in Bengal, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq successfully managed to crush down the revolt, and his son was in Delhi. His son was making preparations that let my father return, I will overthrow him. So what did his son do? He started making preparations that when my father will come to Delhi, I will do something, I will attempt to overthrow him. And for that, he came up with a plan. So he built a high wooden podium. That means he built a podium with the help of his architects he said that when my father will come, he will stand on this podium and he will inspect the army parade. So he started preparing a wooden podium, a high one. So when Ghayasuddin Tughlaq came back and he was witnessing the parade from that podium, it was a wooden podium made of wood, and this podium was actually prepared on the instructions of his own son. So he was witnessing the parade, but that podium was built as part of a conspiracy. So that podium collapsed. The wooden podium collapsed and Ghayasuddin was crushed to death under its weight. So question is, which ruler died accidentally or was crushed to death when he fell from a podium? Answer is Ghayasuddin Tughlaq. And he was, in a way, you can say, murdered by his own son. So that way, his son, Prince Jauna Khan, became the next emperor. He eliminated his father. So from then on, that means earlier he was known as Prince Jauna Khan, but when he became the emperor, he started calling himself Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So his family name was Tughlaq, and that's why this dynasty is known as Tughlaq dynasty. So Jauna Khan changed his name to Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now let us see what kind of a ruler Prince Jauna Khan or Muhammad bin Tughlaq was. So he was the second ruler of Tughlaq dynasty. So Prince Jauna Khan, whose name changed to Muhammad bin Tughlaq, ascended the throne in 1325 AD. He was a learned scholar. So historians say that of all the people who have ruled over Delhi Sultanate, Muhammad bin Tughlaq was the most learned. He knew many languages. He knew Arabic, he knew Persian, and he had knowledge about vast degree of subjects, including philosophy, astrology, mathematics, and all sorts of knowledge available that time. But the irony is, or you can say the problem is, that all this knowledge could not translate into a good administration. He proved to be a foolish king. So historians call him a foolish king. We will see why. So though he was a learned and intellectual person, but when it came to taking decisions as an emperor, he always proved himself to be a foolish ruler. So these are not my observations. So these are observations of prominent historians, so who refer to him as a foolish king. So there has to be some reason why historians call him a foolish ruler. So you will see that over his entire career as an emperor, he took some bizarre, absurd decisions. And for those decisions, today he is known as a foolish ruler. So because of his laughable decisions, he is known as a wise fool. Very important question. Which ruler is known as a wise fool? Muhammad bin Tughlaq. You will know the reason very soon. So his first decision was taxation of Doab farmers. So what is Doab? See, in North India, there are two prominent rivers, Ganga and Yamuna. And you know, the land between these two regions, these are two rivers. So the land between these two rivers is known as Doab. So it is a very fertile land. Even today it is fertile. During those times it used to be more fertile. Today there is too much of pollution, so rivers have also got polluted. But during back those times, it was highly profitable in terms of agriculture. So what he did, he started interfering into the lives of farmers who used to live in this fertile region. What he did was that he started deciding, the king himself, because he was very learned, he used to study different kinds of books, he used to study mathematics, he used to study geography, all sorts of subjects. So he thought that he is very knowledgeable and he can make good decisions. So he thought that why should I not introduce some new crops in this region, because the king knew that this is a very fertile region. Doab region was a very fertile region. So he started forcing the farmers to grow the crops he thought would be better for that region. So farmers used to traditionally grow crops such as wheat, wheat, rice, jaw, barley, all those kind of crops the farmers used to grow. But this emperor, he thought that let's grow some rich crop, let's grow cashew, let's grow tea. So he thought that farmers would be able to grow these crops, but his experiments failed. He also increased the taxes in this land, the taxes that farmers used to pay. He increased those taxes because he thought that now farmers are going to become rich. So he was a delusional king. His agricultural experiments were an utter failure and farmers started abandoning agriculture. So because of high taxes and forced labor, so it was like the emperor used to say that no, you cannot grow wheat, you have to grow cashew. But farmers were unable to cultivate that and still they were forced to pay taxes. So farmers were fed up. They thought that if we continue this way, we are going to die. How will our family survive? What are we going to eat? So what they did, they started moving out of Delhi. So they said that if we live in Delhi, this king is going to make us more poor. He is going to destroy our lives. So these farmers, they started moving out of Delhi and they moved towards forest. Say they gave up agriculture, and because of this there was a serious loss of revenue to the state treasury, because now there were no more farmers. Then who is going to pay taxes? The next decision that Muhammad bin Tughlaq is known for is his decision to shift his capital. So he was a ruler of Delhi Sultanate and the seat of power of Delhi Sultanate is Delhi. But as we have already seen that Mongols were trying to invade India again and again. So many times they were successful in reaching Delhi. So there was a threat perception from these Mongol invaders. So because of that, Muhammad bin Tughlaq started thinking that why should I not shift my capital to South India? There were some other reasons for doing that as well. As a prince, Muhammad bin Tughlaq had spent many years in South India, particularly in Devagiri. So as we have just seen that when he was a prince, his father had sent him to Warangal. So Warangal is in South India. So this guy Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he was familiar about the politics and geography of South India. So he thought to move his capital. So after 2 years of ruling from Delhi, he decided to move to South India and chose Devagiri his capital. Why Devagiri? Because when he was sent to attack Warangal, he used to live in Devagiri. And Devagiri was part of Delhi Sultanate. So Devagiri is in Maharashtra. So now he is moving from Delhi to Daulatabad, which was earlier known as Devagiri. So when he shifted his capital to Devagiri, he then changed its name to Daulatabad. So there were two prominent reasons why he shifted his capital. So if many options are given that which of the following is not a reason why he shifted his capital, then you will have to know all the reasons. It is not a single reason for which he shifted his capital. There were many reasons. The first was, of course, that he feared that Mongols might capture Delhi. So it was necessary for him to move to a safer place. The other reason was his capital, or you can say Delhi Sultanate, has expanded by then. So Delhi was no more located centrally. Let's suppose this is Delhi Sultanate and this is Delhi. So you can see, and this is Devagiri. So Devagiri or Daulatabad was more centrally located. What is meant by centrally located? So if you look at the boundaries of Delhi Sultanate, so the new capital of Devagiri was equidistant from all the prominent city, whereas Delhi was in one corner of the Sultanate. So if you want to have a better grasp or better grip on your entire kingdom, you choose a place which is centrally located, and Devagiri was more centrally located as compared to Delhi. So these are the two prominent reasons. Delhi and Daulatabad are 1500 kilometers away. So he ordered all the citizens of Daulatabad. So Tughlakabad. So he forced all the citizens of Tughlakabad. So what is Tughlakabad? So Tughlakabad was their capital, and Tughlakabad was established by his own father. So his people, or you can say the citizens of Delhi Sultanate, were asked to move 1500 kilometers away to Devgiri. So King Muhammad bin Tughlaq made good preparation, because lakhs and lakhs of people have to be transported from Delhi to Devgiri or Daulatabad. So he made good preparation, but still some people refused to move out of Delhi. They said that why should we follow king's order? Because they were more comfortable living in Delhi. They have been living there, and all of a sudden king wants them to move to Devagiri. So many people died on their way. So while moving from Delhi to Daulatabad, many people died, and those who refused to walk were executed by the army, because it was an order from the emperor that nobody should stay behind. Everybody should accompany me to my new capital. So when the entire administrative setup was shifted to Devgiri, its name was changed to Daulatabad. So who established Daulatabad? So it is Muhammad bin Tughlaq. What was the original name of Daulatabad? Devgiri. So these questions have been asked, in previous years. So you have to keep these small bits of pieces in your mind. So however, just after 8 years, that is in 1335 AD, because he shifted his capital in 1327 AD, and after 8 years, that means in 1335 AD, he changes his mind. He says that now it's time to go back to Delhi. Why? Because he started realizing, so see, when he was living in Daulatabad, Delhi was still under attack. And not only Delhi, even Bengal was under attack. So he thought that if I continue to stay in South India, the entire North India will be captured by Mongols. So he thought that no, I should now again shift back to Delhi. So because of these kind of decisions, he is known as a wise fool. Though he was a learned king, but look at his decisions. Because of his foolish decisions, so many people died. The next decision that he took was a failed currency change. So it is also known as the first demonetization of Indian history. So what he basically did, see, there were, during those times, precious metals such as gold and silver was used to make coins. So kings used to issue coins which were made of gold and silver. But because of frequent famines and revolts that Muhammad bin Tughlaq faced, his treasury ran short of gold and silver coins, because he have to fight so many wars. He had to take care of so many people, because there was a great famine during his time period, and because of that, supply of gold and silver became rare. Then if there is no gold, there is no silver, then how will the king issue the coin? So now understand the problem of the king. There are few earlier coins in existence, and now there is no metal to print new coins. So what this king did was he started using cheaper metals. So now he started using copper instead of silver and gold. So he now issues coins of copper, but understand the problem. Already gold and silver coins are in market. Now new copper coins have come in market. But what this foolish king did, he kept the value of copper coin at the same value of a gold and silver coin. That means a 1 gram gold coin and a 1 gram copper coin were technically of same value in the market. Now what happened because of this? So you give one copper coin and you get in return, if you get one gold coin, it's the same thing, because king have declared that king have told his citizens that you ignore that this is a copper coin. So he minted coins and he told his people to assume that this is not copper, this is gold coin. Its value will be the same as gold and copper. So what happened? People started making fake coins in their home. So it was the duty of the king to issue the coin. It is only the king who can issue the coin. But people realized that he has taken a foolish decision. So people started making coins in their own home. So 1 gram of copper can buy something which earlier 1 gram of gold was supposed to buy. So people were motivated to make fake currencies. And because of this currency change or this demonetization also was a great disaster. So there is a question that which ruler of Delhi Sultanate brought about a currency change which was a utter failure or which resulted in a great depression or disaster. So it is Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And you know the reason why this disaster took place. And because of these things, also there was a rise in corruption, because now even common people, they were making coins. They no more were afraid of the ruler. The next decision that he took, and which also turned out a failure, was his plan to invade Khurasan. Now what is this Khurasan? So Khurasan was a medieval kingdom which comprised of parts of Iran and Afghanistan, and the province shared its border with Delhi Sultanate. So, you know, in that area of Afghanistan and Iran, that means just beyond Lahore, because Lahore was also part of Delhi Sultanate. So just beyond Lahore, there was a province known as Khurasan. So he started making plans to invade the province or the kingdom of Khurasan. And in order to fulfill his ambitions of becoming a great conqueror, because he wanted people to respect him, he wanted people to remember him as a great king. So he wanted to achieve something great. So that's why he thought that if I will capture Khurasan province, people will start respecting me, I will become a great king. So to do that, and that time Khurasan province was ruled by Iraq. So to do that, he recruited 3.7 lakh soldiers, because he knew that he will require a huge army, because Khurasan was a strongly defended kingdom. It was under the control of the rulers of Iraq. So he raises an army of 3.7 lakh soldiers and also paid them 1 year's salary in advance. So to motivate his soldiers, he paid 1 year's salary in advance. Can you imagine how much of wealth was spent? So, but this project was dropped because he did not get the help of Persian emperor, who had assured him to help in this mission. So because Khurasan province also comprised of Iran. Iran was known as Persia in those times. And these Persian people, they were ruled by people from Iraq. So they also wanted that somebody should help us and somebody should get us getting freed from this Iraqi people. But at the last moment, the Persian emperor decided to pull back his support from Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and that way all the preparations that Muhammad bin Tughlaq had made, he had recruited 3.7 lakh soldiers, so everything was a waste. So that was again a utter failure of decision making. So because of which the king's treasury suffered a huge financial loss and his reputation also took a dip. So people started thinking or calling him a fool. The next decision for which he is known is his phased Karachil expedition. Now what was this Karachil expedition? So Karachil expedition took place in 1333 and it was conducted soon after he has abandoned the Khurasan expedition, because he has already raised a huge army. So he thought that if I am not able to invade Khurasan, let me invade China. And during that time, the geographical sense was not well developed. People had very rough idea of geography. So he thought that if I cross the Himalayas just after Himalayas, so I will manage to reach China. So what he was referring to as Himalayas was actually Himachal Pradesh instead of Himalayas. So he was referring to Himachal Pradesh region of Kullu and Kangra. So he mistook this as, region of Himalaya. So he sends an expedition there. So some later day historians such as Badayuni and Farishta, so these are historians, call it an expedition to China and Himachal because of that region, because Muhammad bin Tughlaq was under the impression that just after crossing Kullu Kangra region, he will manage to enter into China. That's why it is also known as a failed China expedition. So this expedition also proved to be an utter failure. The commander of Delhi armies advanced too far into the mountains because they had no idea of geography. So they advanced deeper into the mountains and their supply was cut off. They were totally surrendered. They were captured by the people living in the Himalayas. So his retreat was cut off by the defending forces and almost the entire army of 10,000 was destroyed. So his entire army was captured and destroyed by the kings, or you can say the army of the people who used to live in Kullu Kangra. So you can see one after the other decisions of Muhammad bin Tughlaq backfired. So that's why he is known as a wise fool. Why wise? Because he was a learned person. He knew, or he had good command over different subjects. Why fool? Because of his decision making. Now the other major event that took place during his time period was the visit of a Moroccan traveler, Ibn Battuta. So he had come to India from Morocco. So Morocco in Africa. So Ibn Battuta was a traveler from Morocco. He came to India in 1333 AD and please remember this is very important, and was appointed as a chief Qazi of Delhi. So what is chief Qazi? It is like chief justice of today. So somebody who delivers justice. So Ibn Battuta was made Qazi of Delhi by which ruler? By Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So a foreigner becomes the Qazi. So this traveler Ibn Battuta, so he has left an invaluable account of Muhammad bin Tughlaq's reign. That means he stayed in the Delhi Sultanate. He has written vividly. He has recorded in great detail the life and times of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So he has written a book which is known as Rihala. Please remember this. Who is the author of the book known as Rihala? Ibn Battuta. Who was Ibn Battuta? He was a traveler from Morocco. And when he came to India, he was made the Qazi by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now, bin Tughlaq's death and succession. Muhammad bin Tughlaq died in 1351 AD. You need not remember this date. So when he was going towards Sindh for some campaign, he was succeeded by his nephew Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Succeeded, that means the next one to become the ruler was Firoz Shah Tughlaq. So he is the third ruler of Tughlaq dynasty. Now let us see the biography of Firoz Shah Tughlaq. He is the third ruler of Tughlaq dynasty. He worked to improve the infrastructure of the empire. So he is credited with building canals, rest houses. So rest houses means, so roads were built, and during those times these roads were, used for transport by all sorts of people like travelers, merchants. So these rest houses acted like modern day hotels, because people needed some place to rest, to spend night. So it is the king who started building these things. So Firoz Shah Tughlaq. So he is known as you can say a person who revamped Delhi Sultanate, and he is also known as the inventor of Public Works Department, PWD, because these are the jobs that PWD or Public Work Department performs in today's modern day time. So it is Firoz Shah Tughlaq who started that. So he started building canals, rest houses, hospitals, and he also dug a few wells and reservoirs. So he is known to have founded several cities around Delhi, in the vicinity of Delhi, not immediately next to Delhi, but near, means near about, in the periphery of Delhi. So these cities are, please remember, Jaunpur, Firozpur, Hisar, Firozabad, Fatehabad. So all these cities were established by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. He imposed jizya tax on all non-Muslims and did not even exempt Brahmins and beggars as done by his predecessors. So there was a tradition that, a tax, a special kind of tax was levied on people of, who were non-Muslims, who did not practice the religion of Islam. So that tax was known as jizya tax. And Firoz Shah Tughlaq imposed that tax so vigorously that he did not even exempt Brahmins and beggars. Beggars who do not have money even to eat. Even they were forced to pay taxes. So he tried to ban practices that the orthodox theologians considered as un-Islamic. That means he tried to give a boost to Islamic practices, and he banned anything and everything that went against the practices of Islam. He is known for building a huge hospital in Delhi called Darul Shafa. So the name of the hospital was Darul Shafa, and who built it? Firoz Shah Tughlaq. He also built marriage bureau and employment bureau. Understand, about like 800 years ago, a king, he was a progressive king. He built marriage bureau and employment bureau to help his citizens. He also used to give grants to the parents of poor daughters to facilitate their marriages, because people, those who did not have money to marry their daughters off, so he used to provide them grant and alms. So Firoz Shah Tughlaq's biggest contribution is the construction of 4 agricultural canals. So what are canals? So suppose this is river and this is agricultural field. So canals are dug which can join, remote places to rivers, so that if you construct this canal, water will start flowing here, and people living in all these areas can also have access to water. So he is known to have constructed 4 such canals. So his autobiography, that is, autobiography means what? Story written by yourself. If you yourself write the story of your life, it is known as autobiography. So Firoz Shah Tughlaq wrote his own life story, and that is known as Futuhat-e-Firoz Shahi. He is also known as patron to a scholar Ziauddin Barni. So he was basically a historian, and he lived in the court of Firoz Shah Tughlaq. So during Firoz Shah Tughlaq's reign, several books written in Sanskrit. So these books belong to, these books were on various topics such as medicine, arts, and some religious discussions as well. So these books were translated into Persian. Why Persian? Because Persian was the court language of Delhi Sultanate. Never say that Urdu was the court language. It was not Urdu, it was actually Persian. He is known to have constructed a fort. So fort during those times was known as Kotla, and since his name was Firoz, so the fort that he built was known as Firoz Shah Kotla. That means the fort of Firoz Shah, and even today its remnant can be seen. The thing or the famous aspect about this fort was to decorate this newly built fort. Firoz Shah ordered 2 Ashokan pillars. Ashokan pillars means what? So you remember a king known as Great King Ashoka of Mauryan dynasty. So this king had erected many pillars over the entire North India. So 2 such pillars, many pillars were erected by King Ashok, who is also known as Samrat Ashok. So this Firoz Shah Tughlaq ordered his soldiers to bring 2 pillars from Allahabad and put it on the top floor of Firoz Shah Kotla. That means his newly built fort. This is a very important question. Which ruler of Delhi Sultanate brought 2 Ashokan pillars to Delhi? So answer is Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Even today these pillars can be seen in the premises of Firoz Shah Kotla. Now, after the death of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, this Tughlaq dynasty set on a path of decline. Firoz Shah died in 1388 AD. You don't have to remember all these dates. So after him, whosoever came on the throne, so they were actually, later day Tughlaq rulers were very weak. They could not contribute much to Indian history. So they were there only for the sake of name. So if you want to remember the name, well and good, but from the competition point of view, you can skip all this. So their names were Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq Shah II, Abu Bakr Shah, Nasiruddin Muhammad Tughlaq. So these are later day Tughlaq rulers. So end of Tughlaq dynasty. The successors of Firoz Shah Tughlaq were not very strong or competent. So by the end of 14th century, most of the territories became independent. Only Punjab and Delhi remained under the Tughlaqs. Why? Because these places were near to the capital, Punjab and Delhi. Delhi was the capital itself. So only these places were part of Delhi Sultanate. The other places such as Bengal, Lahore, they started declaring independence. Now the major event that took place during the last days of Tughlaq dynasty was invasion of Taimur. Taimur was a Mongol invader. As I already told you that Mongols were always looking for opportunity to invade India. So Taimur invaded India during the last days of Tughlaq dynasty. So when Taimur invaded, question is, who was ruling Delhi Sultanate? So you have to remember this. When Taimur invaded India, the ruler, or the, you can say, Delhi Sultanate was ruled by a ruler known as Nasiruddin Muhammad Tughlaq. He was also a Tughlaq, but he was very weak. He could do nothing to stop Taimur. So Taimur actually came to Delhi, and he is known to have killed more than 1 lakh people of Delhi. He burnt the entire city, looted it completely. And this happened during whose reign? Who was the king? Nasiruddin Muhammad Tughlaq. So this happened in 1398 AD, and Delhi was completely annihilated, destroyed. And that way you can say that Tughlaq dynasty came to a sudden end, because Taimur invaded, looted everything, the treasury was empty, the king became weak, nobody respected the king anymore. So that way Tughlaq dynasty came to an end.